welcome new YouTubers.
All right.
No, keep that going too.
Yeah.
Double duty.
Tired, guys.
Which camera do we look
All
at?
right, well,
Stop
if you're just tuning
stop
in on
complaining,
YouTube,
tripod.
we're talking
Fetching.
about business-to-business brands on social media. But I actually want to segue away
That's
from
hilarious.
that. And let's talk about how a brand, we have another question here, how can a brand create a global strategy, social strategy that resonates with locals as well? Because I think, right, like, especially in Toronto, we were talking about Toronto brands specifically, but especially if a company grows, how can you apply that to the world as well as whatever city you're from?
Well, I know that a lot of multinational brands, have whether it's agencies or their own operations, in various countries. So, so the Canadian operation of, a brand will be different than the European operations of a brand, and they'll sort of they might have a overarching global campaign, like Haagen-Dazs has a global campaign. We can decide whether that's good or bad, but they have that, and then each of the countries will sort of use the creative of that from that campaign, and the idea of that campaign into their local, right? So in Canada, obviously, they'll be we'll talk about hockey, and we'll talk about Canadian stuff, if there's that local aspect. They're not going to talk about hockey as much maybe down in the States.
But
Yeah,
Right.
there's all kinds of like little things you can do too. I was actually really impressed. I think it was last summer. Spotify started putting up posters around Toronto when they came to Canada, and like Spotify is a big global company. They want everybody all over the world streaming music through them. But then they sort of did a little grassroots thing here in Toronto where they made like out of home advertising. That they put up around the streets, and it was very local focused. So there was one by Trinity Bellwoods Park, where the infamous white squirrel lives, and there was a thing up there, and they made like a white squirrel playlist. And there was another one for like it was like a drive home playlist, but it was the advertising they did for it was something about driving home, stuck in traffic on the DVP or something like that. And so they've taken this global thing that they do, which is streaming music, and given it a local element by creating like little playlists that are very local. Something else I see brands starting to do a lot more is as well on Facebook is if you have a one brand Facebook page, taking advantage of dark posts has just become really, really popular for brands.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what dark posts are, you can actually target.
That's racist, I think, is what he said. No.
You can actually target posts at specific people by their demographic. So it could be age, could be gender, could be location.
Yeah.
And just the people who visit your fan page who fit into that demographic there will see that post. You can even do it by like interest. So you can be like people from Toronto who are under 20 and like skateboarding, and they'll just see something made specific for them. So you can actually start to put local stuff on your larger global brand Facebook page, and only the people from that local area that you're targeting are going to see it. So while it's still your larger brand, you can start adding all these little like local elements to it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think also on the flip side, like when you get a global agency working on local brands, you can see it work the opposite way, where there's like nuances to a community that a global agency might not pick up on.
Sure.
And even if it's like, I've worked on campaigns where I've seen people forget like that we spell color with a U in Canada and things like that, where it seems like such a small thing, but when it actually comes to consumers, that tells them that the brand's not paying attention to them. And I think that it's all of those little things that actually like get noticed and get paid attention versus thinking that, a social strategy can be one size fits all. I think there's a way to have like a roadmap and a strategy that has a brand consistency, but also like do what Spotify did and tweak it for the community to show that you're actually paying attention and you understand who the audience is.
Okay, so switching gears just a little bit. Influencer is such a big buzzword these days, especially in coming up with social media campaigns. So do you think incorporating influencers into social media marketing
in general, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think with
you have to
everything.
do it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think it's important.
We're all like,
Yes, no.
No, I can talk to you, but you seem like you have something very.
No, well,
important you wanna say.
it's a yes or a no, right? You could go either way.
Okay.
Yes, it can work, but there's a but in there, right? And it's not just, oh, so and so has X amount of followers, or so and so gets X amount of views on their videos, or whatever the case may be. It's does what this person, this influencer, or this group of influencers, do they talk about the stuff that resonates with our brand? Is their audience the audience that we want to know about our company, about our product and service? So it starts from there, I think, if you want to look at influencers. And then really it's having that conversation and that dialogue with the influencer to understand, so that both parties understand, right? So the influencer understands, this is what the brand wants to accomplish. Can I or can I not execute this for them? And I think it's a two-way street. I think sometimes, brands can make the mistake of trusting too much in the influencer. And I think the influencer sometimes can make the mistake of taking money for the sake of that from a brand that makes no sense for them and for their
I've done
audience.
it.
Right?
You're absolutely right. I think like the numbers game is one of the smaller aspects that you need to look at. I mean, of course, you want somebody who has a following of sorts, but you don't just necessarily pick influencers based on the size of their audience. You want to make sure that they actually fit specifically with your brand.
Yeah.
A good influencer will actually make sure that your brand even fits specifically with them.
Yes.
There's a lot of people these days who are like, oh, I want to be one of these social media influencers. Like, that's going to be my profession when I grow up. And they will take money and freebies from anybody
From
they
everyone.
They
can.
almost like build their content strategy out like brand first.
Yeah,
right?
and sometimes it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit with the brand. Like, I don't think of myself as an influencer whatsoever. I don't understand even why anybody follows me on any social media. But like, if a brand comes to me, and it's not something that like I'm really actually into or fits with my lifestyle, I have zero interest in doing it, because it comes down to that sort of authenticity word, where does it feel authentic? Is this really a brand I would use in my everyday life, or a new product that I would actually use from a brand that's like new or something like that? Does it actually really fit with me, and does my personality fit with your brand? Just because I have a lot of followers, I might have a lot of followers because I swear a lot or something. So if you're like you're a family-friendly brand, I may not be the right person that you want to work with. So I think that there's a whole lot of stuff you have to look at beyond just these followers here. Everybody's looking at something off camera here. I have no idea what's going on anymore.
I also think it's evolved, right? Like when it first started, people were throwing money at influencers trying to like get some reach, but now I think brands should really approach influencers' platforms as you would any other media platform. So if you have a blog, or you have your own social channels, like ask the same questions that you would ask like a publication, or you would ask if you're going to buy media space somewhere else, right? You always ask about who the audience is, what the reach is, and what the impressions are. So I think like the benchmarks for that have changed. It used to be, a lot of influencers weren't even asked for their analytics after a campaign, but now you can actually say, if you want to get paid and treated like any other media platform, if I'm going to invest in influencer A or in the Globe and Mail, like what's the payoff for both, and evaluate them as such, right?
Yeah, I saw a really good talk as part of Social Media Week in Toronto here yesterday, and they were talking about there are these influencers, the ones I was talking about before, like they just want to be influencers when they grow up. But and you ask them, it's like, well, what does your brand, your personal brand, bring with it? What kind of results can you show me? Because it's not just about, hey, I can get this person, and when their answer is like, oh, I have 200,000 followers on Snapchat, it's like, well, that's fantastic, but do they engage with you? Do they listen to you? Do they care what you have to say? And I think that's something else to like sort of also think about when you're doing this, is who are the people that they actually influence. I give this example a lot when I talk sometimes, and I apologize to Gary Vaynerchuk because I always throw him under the bus here, but he made his career essentially at the beginning off of Wine Library TV, where he sold wine, he would recommend wine and things like that. and while like he has pulled in this huge audience doing that. You know, Gary might have very different taste in wine than me. I'm more in line with like what you like, Graham, and you know, I might be like, Graham, what kind of wine are you drinking these days? Because you have similar taste to me, and I'm going to take that. Just because Gary Vaynerchuk is this sort of big name in wine doesn't mean that he's somebody I necessarily want to listen to. I still love you, Gary, if you're watching.
So
Send us wine.
So everyone, the emergence of the like influencer agency, do you think that's a good thing? Because it kind of helps filter which influencer might get paired with which brand.
Sure. I don't.
I think it's very new, and it's a really like interesting idea. I think that as long as you have that intermediary person, like so the agent, I suppose, or the agency that really understands that. You know, that working relationship is, does this brand and this influencer actually work well together, or does it seem like, you know, their ideas and values and stuff mesh? You just don't want somebody who's going to go out there and be like, oh, I got you this sponsorship and this sponsorship and this sponsorship. So today I'm going to need you to talk about chips and cars and, you know, like something else. So I think that if that agency can actually do a real job in helping to make those like really valuable connections, I think it's a great idea. If you're just looking for somebody who's better than you to hawk yourself and your followers to as many brands as possible, I don't think it's a good idea.
Alrighty, I have one last question for you guys before we dig into the donuts that are sitting on this table here. So social media has come a long way in the past 10 years.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Wardrobe.
What am I showing?
I don't know.
Social media has come a long way in the past 10 years. My first part of this question.
Back shopping.
Where do you see things going in the next 10 for social media?
The next
10 years.
Oh my God.
Or we could do 5.
Well, I mean,
just because things are going pretty fast.
It's a really hard question to answer. Like technology, it keeps like popping up, things like you didn't even know you like was gonna be a thing quickly become like we were all joking around about Snapchat before, and I was saying I'm too old for it, and you know, like, but I'm getting on it and I'm learning to use it, and there is some value to it. But I mean, like, if you were to ask me like a year ago or 2 years ago if Snapchat even existed then, I would have been like, whatever, it's gonna come and go. So it's really hard to tell what's gonna come and what's actually going to catch on as well, right? There's like all the time there's things pop up. Remember somebody tried to start that other new MySpace Facebook thing, Ello?
Oh,
Do you guys remember that, like a year or two ago? And
Smiley
like
face.
For like 2 weeks, it was all anybody would talk
the biggest
about.
thing. Peach.
Like that weekend on Peach.
There was Peach for a weekend or something. So like it's really hard to say.
Fine.
Yeah, something I do see. I like Periscope. I just used it yesterday.
Musically.
Hello, Facebook Live. No, but I think something that we can.
All the kids are on it.
That I can see coming, and I think it's still a little while away, is VR is going to be something really interesting. And I think that we need it to catch on, not to be super expensive, give everybody access to it. But I think it's going to be really interesting because it'll be virtual spaces where brands can actually create real experience. Like we talk about creating experiences as marketers for you know, for your customers and your audience, and you do create these sort of experiences, and sometimes they have to be sort of passive in watching these experiences.
They're also very linear, right?
Yeah. So imagine when you can start to create an actual experience that anybody can like literally be inside of, be part of that experience. I think that's going to be a huge game changer. I think it's still a little bit off, but like I'll give it like that 10-year range.
Okay. Yeah. I think to understand what the future holds is to see what the really rich people do. So you take a look at, to piggyback off of that, Bill Gates believes that VR is going to be huge. Mark Zuckerberg has invested in Oculus Rift. And he's also invested in that chat app, whose name I totally forget, WhatsApp. So you see where these people are investing their billions of dollars, and see where they're taking their companies. And I think that's where the near future is, right? Now, whether we call that social or not, That's sort of where they believe, and they're investing their time and their resources. So those are two things.
That's actually a good point though about the social thing though. It's like everybody's going like head over heels for like chatbots right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, is chatbot social?
I think it's customer service more.
It's a tool,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a tool.
sure they're saying it'll live on like Facebook and in your text messages, and it's also what sort of counts as social media moving forward.
I think our
Everything's
terminology
sort of
will
social
probably
now.
get more sophisticated in the next.
It'll
decade.
change, yeah. It'll still be part of digital, and digital will be part of marketing, or we'll call it storytelling more now than ever, or but I think that's sort of where the future is where are people investing? What's coming out now? You guys do some work with Next 36, I believe,
Yep.
right? So it's like, where are these smarter kids than we can ever be? What do they think?
For us unsmart kids, what is Next 36?
They're a startup accelerator program.
There you go.
Got it. Oh, so you guys are working with them to find the next technology.
Yes.
All right. Okay, I got it. I like that.
That's one of the shifts that I see now is the kids that are growing up that don't know anything else. So like for a lot of people that I've done business with over my career, social was like an add-on or an afterthought or something that we had to adjust or like start thinking about in part of our like marketing campaigns. But for a lot of people growing up now, that's what they think of first, right? So the other day we were talking about it internally as a team about, how much time do you spend on TV? How much time do you spend on radio or on print? How much time do you spend on your phone? How much of that is on social networks? So when you think about how brands are going to evolve, this new set of people that are coming out that think of that stuff first and think of that stuff kind of, in its own environment, I think is going to blow us all away.
Now, do people think of it in the opposite way? So like we were saying, like, people are like, well, here's our thing, and then how do we fit social into it?
Yeah.
Are people now starting to think, well, here's my idea for social, how do we fit the rest of everything we do into it? It's like, I got this really great idea for a Twitter handle.
Yeah.
How do we make that work everywhere else?
How do we turn it into a brand?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you have a social idea. How do we build a brand around that?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I think that could happen.
Alrighty.
Why not?
So that's all we have for today.
Awesome.
So thank you guys so much, YouTube and Facebook. And
Shout out to Amy for manning the
Shout out to
phone.
Almond
Amy,
and the rest of our team. Maddie and Fan.
she's been waiting the whole broadcast to do that too.
And here's Char.
Jeez.
So make
Super
sure you
excited
guys
about social.
tune in next week, next Wednesday, June 15th. We'll be here again with less technical difficulties, talking about fashion startups in Toronto. So let's get a donut.
All right,
Love it.
let's go. Donuts.
I say weed. I think someone took my sprinkle.
Cheers.
I'm gonna go for the cream
Cheers.
fill one.
Cheers.
Cheers.